Building output skill time. In today's video, I'm going to show you a workflow that you can apply in all of your projects. We're going to start with this basic sketch that I did a few years ago, and we're going to transform it into different outputs that show different stages of the design, and then we're going to compile all together in an architectural board. We're going to go from this concept to a vector style plan as well as planting plan, and then at the end of the video I'm going to show you a really cool animation. So this sketch is our source of truth, and all the outputs and all the results are going to be based in this piece of work. Let's start by transforming this messy sketch style into a vector plan that is going to be the foundation of everything. We're going to head up to Nano Banana Pro, and we're going to drop the sketch right here and use this prompt. We want to be sure we're working on the same aspect ratio and that the resolution is 4K. Also enable grounding with Google search, which basically enhance the way Nano Banana Pro works by relying on Google for identifying all the requirements in your prompt. So here we have our messy sketch, and here we have our vector plan. Messy, clean. Same idea, now readable and buildable. Now we're gonna go for step 2, concept plan. This is where the client gets the idea in 3 seconds. We are gonna copy and paste this prompt. I'm not gonna read all the prompts as it's gonna make the video too long, but feel free to put pause and analyze, and also the prompts are gonna be available on the description. And here we have our result. This is the colored plan, and this is the initial vector line work. What happens if we want to change the color to a more subtle texture that is more appropriate for representing landscape architecture? We are gonna drop the colored sketch right here, and we're gonna use this prompt. And for the colors, I want Nano Banana Pro to re-render using this palette. So we're gonna drag the color reference right here, ensure 4K, 1916 aspect ratio, and let's click run. And here we have our result. This is our new color palette, and this is how it was before. This technique is really nice because you can provide the model with the colors that you usually use and make sure you achieve that spotless consistency regarding your style and architectural language. Now it's time to start annotating this plan, and for doing this we're gonna use this same chat, and we're gonna use this prompt right here. We're gonna click run and see what happens. And here is our result. As you can see, it has added all the basic annotations, including the pergola and dining area. We have the stone terrace right here. It has labeled the house, the lawn, the water feature, the stepping stone paths, the bench, the boulders, and also the planting beds and the boundary hedge. This workflow is really good when you want to add just quick annotations. We're gonna go now to step 3, and we're gonna start crafting the planting palette that is going to be applied to this garden. And for doing that, we're gonna go to ChatGPT, and we're gonna drag our clean base, and we're gonna paste this prompt. This is the prompt. Like I mentioned before, all these prompts are gonna be available on the description, and let's click run. So what ChatGPT is doing right here is analyzing the provided image, and based on our prompt, it has given us all this list with a quick analysis of the plan. So we are gonna condense all this comprehensive information into only names and categories. Now that we have all the information condensed into categories and species, we're gonna copy all these species, go back to Nano Banana, paste them here, create a planting palette grid mood board for the species below. 1916, 4K, and here we had our planting palette. As you can see, it has categorized all the information for the evergreen head options. It has also shows the options for the multi-stem ornamental trees, the seasonal shrubs, and also for the structural evergreens. So now we're gonna apply this palette to our design. So the first thing I want to do is I want the colors of that planting palette to be reflected on all these parts of the sketch, and for doing that I'm gonna drag that sketch here into Nano Banana Pro. I am also gonna drag the planting palette right here, and we're gonna use this prompt, which basically is telling Nano Banana Pro to match the colors of this planting palette into the drawing. We're not doing the planting plan yet, it's just for representing a little bit of more accuracy how the seasonal planting and all the shrubs will look like. And here we have our result. As you can see, it has transformed all the colors into something that reflects more accurately the planting design. So we passed from having just a plain green texture to have a little bit more of vibrancy and tones towards the scheme. And all those colors were taken from this mood board. Mood board, plain green, tweaked colors. Plain green, tweaked colors. Before we jump into doing the planting plank based on our planting palette, we are gonna soften the color of our drawing. This is a prompt and we're gonna click run. And this is our result. Here we have our before and our after. As you can see, all the colors have been softened in a way that is going to be more suitable for adding all the annotations into our planting plan. And this time we're gonna use this prompt. Let's change the resolution to be 4K again and let's click run. And here is our result. We can see how the silver beach has been indicated right here, how we have the UH, the Japanese maple representing that vibrant and autumn colors. Also, you can see how it has created annotations for the boulders. We always needed to check these unreliable sources to make sure that what AI is proposing is spot on, but it's always good as a starting point to give us an overall idea in how this can work. We're gonna move now into doing some exciting diagrams. Our first diagram is gonna be a circulation diagram overlay, which is gonna show flow and movement of the user in the garden. So drag this base and let's copy and paste this prompt. And here is a result. As you can see, it has created all the diagram. You can clearly see how someone will experience this garden. As you can see, it hasn't added the entrances to the house, and this is something that we can correct. We can type add arrows to enter the house and click run. And here is our result. As you can see, it added that diversion, so you can either come to the site or also go into the house. Our next diagram is gonna be a sustainable drainage strategy for the site. We are gonna use our soft colored render plan as base, and this diagram is gonna show us how the water behaves when it rains. Use this prompt. And now let's click run. In our previous diagram we used yellow, magenta color, and on this one we are using cyan color, so all these three colors will come nicely when we put them together in a board. And here is our result, guys. As you can see, it has added all these diagrams to represent how the water will behave. It's proposing some barrels that will collect the water from the top of the roof. This is gonna be all the permeable decking, and then the water is gonna flow in all these directions. As you can see, this may need tweaking, but it's a great starting point for giving us an idea what type of proposals may be feasible in a scheme like this one. So this was the base, and this was the diagram. Our next diagram is going to be a bubble diagram featuring the different zones of the scheme. Let's drop the base, use this prompt and click run. And here is our result. As you can see, it has created a fascinating bubble diagram where it explains where the large rock garden is, where the water feature is, where the pergola is, and how all this connects together as a single design. This was the base and this was the bubble diagram. Now we're gonna create a shade study of this garden, assuming that it's in London and that is just 15 degrees rotated clockwise from the north. This is a prompt, very simple and straightforward. And here is our next result. As you can see, it has clearly identified how the shadow now it's gonna cast, and it's easier to read as a graphic. We can see how the shade is gonna be on the morning, on the midday, and also in the afternoon. We need to remember that this can contain mistakes, but it's always good as a starting point, and then it's your responsibility to double check that all this information is accurate. Let's create now an architectural section of this garden. For doing this, I am gonna rely on Photoshop to do a quick markup. I want Nano Banana Pro cut in this direction, and this is gonna be the initial input, and we're gonna use this prompt and press run. And this is our result. Here is our input with the markup, and here is the section. As you can see, it has respected all the trees, it has added the furniture, and it also has got through the water feature and added some nice annotations. You can use this type of workflow, mark where you want to create your sections and then just produce them with a few clicks. The only problem is that it's not always perfect. And then we're gonna move into the most exciting part of the video. I kept working on this project and I'm gonna show you exactly the process that I did so you can repeat it as well. I used the same base again and I typed this prompt right here to create an isometric model that showed me a little bit of the volume and more detail, but everything in white clay massing. After that, I asked Nano Banana Pro to change the camera angle to give me a more realistic approach from a side, and the result was this one. After that, I typed this prompt, change the camera to be a human eye level and to show the visual like if you were looking from inside the house, and this was the result. At this point, Nano Banana Pro started to do a little bit of weird things. As you can see, the proportion of the window is not correct. You can see that the pergola looks very small, so I typed this prompt to correct and fix the proportions, and it changed it in a better way. Then I typed move the camera outside, and the result was this one. This was the view like if you were standing up just outside the window looking exactly into the garden. I was quite happy with this result, so this was the point when I asked Nano Banana to transform it into a photorealistic render, and this was our first result. As you can see, it created a pool where the lawn is supposed to be, so I corrected this by typing this prompt, and then the result was this one. At this point, the grass was alright, and I wanted to experiment some tweaks regarding materials, so I asked the AI to change the walls with this specific material. This was a prompt: apply this texture to the white walls and do not change anything else. And the results were really accurate. Changed all the boundary wall across the garden with that specific material that I provided. After that, I wanted also to change the floor in the entrance right here with this type of volcanic rock, and the results were fantastic. As you can see, it applied the material exactly as I was expecting, and at this point I was quite happy with the result, so I asked AI to change the camera to look like if you were very close to the pergola area looking towards the water feature, and the results were really impressive as well. After this, I just decided to create a seasonal view, typing a very simple prompt that says create a winter frozen scene and don't change anything else, and this was the result. As you can see, all this workflow has come from this initial sketch, but stay tuned because now I'm gonna show you how you can transform this render into a professional animation. For the next animation, we're gonna go direct to Bio Studio. We're gonna use the winter frame as a starting point, and we're gonna type this prompt, and let's click run. If you want more information about how you can create these animations, comment below and I'll make a video in how we can do all of this. And we're gonna use this prompt right here for the other cinematic animation.
You have to try some of this dip, it's amazing.
Thanks, I will. It looks delicious.
It really is the perfect afternoon for it.
Now stay tuned because I'm going to show you something really cool. Time to compile all this information into an architectural professional board. And for doing this, we're going to use this prompt. Copy and paste this prompt. And now let's drag here all the creations that we have been generating through this video. Run. And here is our result. If you keep trying different prompts, you will be able to get a result that suits for your own needs. These are just quick examples, but we can always refine this to the next level. Guys, this is everything for today. I hope you had learned lots of things on this video. We need to remember that artificial intelligence is not perfect yet and that it can make a lot of mistakes. So it's your responsibility as an architect or as a designer to ensure that all of these graphics are presented in a correct way, and we need to make sure that this information cannot be used for construction, but is fantastic on the early stages of a project, especially when you are trying to get concept ideas really quick. And if you want more detailed information in how you can start using AI, go and watch this video where I show which was one of the best applications last year in 2025, but still is very important. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you like it, consider subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.